Hey everyone, happy Monday. Welcome to another episode of Day in the Life of Vintage Classic Specialist. So Mr. Rafa is still on vacation. Hope he's enjoying himself in Hawaii while we're here holding down the fort. So let's see what happened here today. So let me start with this one. So Jacob was in today and worked on this one. However, before he got in, I did a little thing on it. I went to start it this morning to drive it out of the shop and turn the ignition key, and absolutely nothing happened. No idiot lights, no nothing. And so that was a bit puzzling because at the end of the day on, I guess it was Saturday, I fired the car right up, backed it into the shop, no problem. So last I knew it ran great. I thought, well, maybe something discharged the battery, tested the battery directly, 12 volts. Tested at the alternator with the car, of course, not running, and 0 volts. So something was not connected somewhere, somehow. And so let me show you what I found here. Move a couple things real quick. So basically what happened was that this wire right, well, this isn't working too well. This wire right here, which is the one that normally would run over to the voltage regulator over there under the seat. This car doesn't have a voltage regulator because it has an alternator, and so the wires are just kind of tied together over there. Totally normal for an alternator car. But anyway, the spade terminal on this wire was like super loose, and then this wire was kind of like electrical taped to the wire next to it, and I guess it had just worked itself off. It was pretty much just disconnected from the battery here, and so that's the one that pretty much supplies power to the whole car, other than the starter, which draws power from this the big one here that runs directly to it. But yeah, pretty much the whole rest of the car draws off that wire. And so, yeah, it had just, I guess it was just a coincidence that it was working fine, and then it must have slipped off. I'm thinking that probably maybe when I started the car up, it slipped off, and then the car was running, probably like running off the alternator, which I believe it would do even when this was disconnected. But then if the car is not running and this is disconnected, then you got nothing. So I'm guessing it probably like slipped off the rest of the way when I backed the car in the shop. So I'm glad we found that, because it was a very poor connection, and probably what would have happened is if it hadn't slipped off here, it would have slipped off soon, maybe after the owner took it. He'd be driving and boom, he would well, again, he'd probably be okay as long as the car was running, but then when he went to start it, he would have experienced the same thing I did, which was 0 power. Anyway, so very small project, but took me a little while to troubleshoot, but that was it. So I took care of that this morning. And then the other thing that I did, if you have a keen eye, you noticed that one of the taillight housings is off. And the reason for that is that I took it to the paint shop that I use, one of the paint shops that I use that does paint matching. So I actually pulled a taillight housing off this car, pulled a taillight housing off this car, and then off the car that we like to call the tennis ball, which is that bright yellow-green 74 Beetle. The car had been resprayed at some point, but the underside of its deck lid was still original paint. So I just took the whole deck lid. So my paint and body guy had done the outer surface of the deck lid as far as like paint and body, or, well, not paint, but it was like in primer and everything. But we saved the inner surface of that deck lid because it had the original paint on it, that very bright green yellow color, and so yeah, they will use that for paint match. And yeah, likewise this piece off here, this piece off here. So yeah, so Jacob came in, and what I set him to is doing the oil change and checking / adjusting the valves on this car. So went ahead and got the back of the car up, drained the oil. He said it didn't look too bad, actually. So the owner wasn't sure when the last time it was changed was, but it's probably been a long time. Maybe not mileage wise, but I'm guessing time wise it's been a long time. Anyway, so yeah, Jacob went ahead and drained the oil. This car does have an external oil filter on it, so of course pulled that off and put a new one on. And then while he was under there, had him pop off the valve covers and check the valve. So this car, again, has, I believe it's a 1915 motor, and it's got chromoly push rods. So had him check that all the valves were at loose 0, which is what we set those at, and they were all pretty much spot on. So whoever adjusted it last at least did a good job. So no adjustment needed, but it's always good to check them anyway. So that was kind of the main things he did. It did take him a while to do the oil change and valve adjustment because somebody had used, let's just say, copious amounts of like blue RTV sealant on everything. So the drain, the sump plate and the valve cover gaskets and stuff had lots and lots of blue RTV on them. And so it took a long time for Jacob to clean off all those things. And then, of course, reinstall them with new gaskets, with gasket shellac, which is what we usually like to use on valve covers and sump plates. But anyway, so yeah, it all went back together. It's got oil in it again. And I think the next thing we'll do for this car is to probably start it up, check the timing, synchronize the carburetors, check those out. And then I did order, I spoke to the owner and got her permission. And we are going to put disc brakes and dropped spindles on the front. And then again, it does have an adjustable beam, but right now the arms are, about like that angle-wise, which of course makes them ride terrible. The shocks are probably nearly bottomed out, if not bottomed out, which I think is contributing to the poor ride. So what I'm hoping to do is adjust the beam up so the arms are at least level or even slightly down like they would be stock, and then get the lowering with, of course, the drop spindles. So yeah, drop spindles, Porsche pattern disc brakes up front, and then I'm getting a new four-wheel disc brake master cylinder because, of course, the car already has rear disc brakes. So that stuff will be coming in tomorrow. So we'll see. I may take that project on tomorrow. Not sure yet. But that is it for this one for today. So me, other than running errands for a bunch of cars, again, the paint for this car, he wants the engine case painted. So that's why this, part of the reason the motor's out. You need to finish cleaning the motor up, pull the oil cooler assembly off, and then, go ahead and have my guy mask this off and paint the engine case. And then other than that, I pretty much just continued working on the wiring on this. I did purchase, and I will pick up tomorrow, a rebuilt speedometer from our friend Ryan at Orange Empire Speedometer. If any of you guys need a restored speedometer for a vintage VW, Ryan is your guy. You can find him most easily on Facebook at Ryan Osley, I think. I don't remember how to spell his name. Osley? That's probably not right. But his company, you can probably look him up by that on Facebook, is Orange Empire Speedometer. Anyway, he is the best. But he had a correct speedometer for this car in stock, so I went ahead and got it, paid for it, pick it up in the morning along with some Wolfsburg West parts. And then that'll go in. And then continued a little bit of wiring up here in the front. Not too much, but hooked up the ignition switch and a little bit more on the headlight switch. I am buying a windshield wiper switch for it, which we will be hooking up to his electric fuel pump so we can turn that off and on as needed. And then the other thing, if you saw the thumbnail from today, you saw this huge rat's nest of stuff that I pulled out. So this mess here was pretty much all, what's wrong with this door? This thing sticks. There we go. Excuse me. That stuff was pretty much all coiled up under the seat here, and there was actually another ignition switch. You can see it there. There was an ignition switch back here with, it seemed like enough wire to where they could have run it all the way up to the front of the car and used that ignition switch. And I assume the dash, I didn't see any reason to do that, especially, of course, since we're putting a new stock wiring harness in. All that stuff will be wired up per the stock, wiring system. However, I did run a wire from back here to the front of the car, and that, like I said, will be the fuel pump on-off switch, which will be using the wiper switch position right there. So the car doesn't have any wipers. Wipers have been deleted, so that's pretty much what we're filling that hole with. And it's good to be able to turn an electric pump off and on if you're diagnosing things or for whatever reason. So ran that up there, and then I'm probably going to run another wire back here that will be key on positive, and just leave it back here, cap it off, because I think that this wire here is part of the airbag system, and this wire is supposed to be key on positive. So I want to go ahead and run him a wire back here that he can run that off. The stereo, I don't really know how the stereo was turned on, if it's just on all the time, but if there is a wire for that back here, then he can also connect it to the one I'm going to run back from key on positive. So I want to make sure that he can hook up his stereo and his airbag system, since that stuff's all kind of on him. What else? Yeah, so those are kind of the main things I did on this car today. When I say it out loud, it sounds like a lot less than it was, but I was working on it for quite a while. Everything takes a long time, and again, I'm being kind of careful when I'm removing wires. So all these wires, I basically traced them all out first, made sure I know what they were going to, made sure that they were going to be replaced with wires from the stock wiring harness that I'm installing. So you can't just go start ripping stuff out, because some of these could have been for the stereo system. It's really hard to tell. So again, traced them all out, made sure that none of them were going to be used anymore, and then removed them. So it's kind of a time-consuming process, actually, when you're taking a car that's been wired, especially a car that's this complicated, and then rewiring the stock wiring system, because, again, you got to make sure that you're not, disrupting anything for their giant stereo, or in this case, their air ride system. So, guys, I believe that is... one more thing I did. Just small thing, but I did find his turn signal stock. And, of course, it was ivory, which would have looked terrible, if not worse, in here. So pulled it out and sanded it and painted it and installed it. And it's one like I've used before. I think that one for that 67 Beetle is made by the same manufacturer. And the color codes for it are all off, and this is the instructions that it comes with. So the blue ink on there is my sort of notes, but I couldn't make heads or tails out of any of this. And so pretty much what I did is I just started hooking an ohm meter to wires, and then turning the thing in the left turn position, the right turn position, the middle position, and just trace things out. And yeah, the color coding makes no sense at all. And yeah, it was the same thing when I used one of those switches on that car. The thing is that that particular car, and this one, I don't know. This one, I think these are available. But on the 67, they're not available from Wolfsburg West. On these, the owner supplied it, so I felt sort of obligated to use it. But I think high quality ones are available from Wolfsburg. So, but again, he already bought it, so I endeavored to use it. Okay, for real, that's it for today, guys. So appreciate you guys watching, and we will see you again tomorrow. Bye.